Set! Ready! Flanking back to the Russians! Stand by! Fire! Let's go! Strike if we go!
The Russian army probably just had its worst single day ever in tank losses, according to official Ukrainian estimates and international military monitoring groups. Claimed Russian Federation, RF, tanks eliminated by Ukrainian units over a 24-hour period hit a new high on October 3rd, with 44 tanks knocked out, catastrophically destroyed, or captured, a Monday statement from Ukraine's Army General Staff, AGS, said.
Stand by! Fire!
Heavily armored and carrying a cannon capable of destroying any other vehicle on the battlefield, tanks are critical to both the RF Army and the Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, for combat effectiveness. Shortages of Ukrainian tanks helped tank-tipped Russian armored columns overrun much of South Ukraine without serious loss in the early days of the war. Data recently compiled by independent monitoring groups tied the AFU's twin offensives currently in progress in the northern Kharkiv and southern Kherson sector with a dramatic spike in estimated RF tank losses, particularly in the last week. From September 28th to October 5th, the Russian army lost 123 tanks, or, over that week, some 5% of the more than 2,400 Russian tanks written off by the Kremlin since start of the war, an October 5th estimate by the Research Icelandic data analyst said. This was a 45% increase in tanks lost by Russia over the previous week, the estimate said. The independent military watch group Oryx, using open-source data of destroyed or captured RF tanks from the start of the war, said on October 4th that it had compiled photographic evidence of a recent and visible rise in RF tank losses, and at least 1,250 RF tanks fully confirmed eliminated from RF inventories since late February. The actual numbers are certain to be higher, Oryx reports say.
Verified. Let's keep back. Let no one miss. Stand by. Fire!
According to independent Ukrainian media and anecdotal reports posted by AFU soldiers on social media, as Ukrainian troops have attacked, Russian commanders have been forced to pull tanks from high positions and commit them to battle against an AFU opponent heavily armed with NATO standard anti-tank weapons and skilled at calling in artillery fire on tanks sitting static in defense. In some cases, moderately damaged RF tanks still able to be evacuated to safety have been captured by advancing AFU troops. Some retreating Russian tank operators have simply abandoned their vehicles, possibly because of the long-standing AFU tactic of targeting and destroying RF tanks as a top priority. On October 2nd, a video appeared in social media showing Colonel Pavlo Fedosenko, commander of the AFU's crack 92nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade, grinning and driving an apparently intact top-of-the-line Russian T-98 tank recently captured by his men. According to Oryx and other watch groups, somewhere between one-third and one-half of the tanks lost by Russia in the last week have been top-quality T-90s or modernized T-80s and T-72s.
I'll go to the back. Keep back! Give me a little room. Stand by! Right!
Is that my command?
One ready, Chief. One
ready.
Fire! Let's go, next round!
But as Russian tank losses have mounted, vehicles sometimes twice as old as their operators have found their way to the front to be destroyed by AFU shells or missiles and added to the RF loss counts as well. Following the October 3rd confirmation of 4 obsolete, almost useless T-62 tanks knocked out in the Kherson sector, Oryx offered an eye-rolling tweet on the RF's increasing inability to field modern, combat-capable equipment. I mean, come on.
They're on task, red, left! We fire! Next round! Good. Alright, we gotta get this.
Ukraine's counteroffensive in the east and south of the country continues to build momentum, with President Zelensky announcing last night that there were new liberated settlements in several regions. On Monday, Ukrainian forces saw more successes on the battlefield, pushing through Russian defenses in the south of the country, as well as consolidating their hold on territory around Lyman in the eastern Donetsk region, and looking to push further into neighboring Luhansk. President Putin announced Russia was annexing both regions last Friday, as well as Kherson and Zaporizhia in the south, but Moscow's hold on them looks increasingly fragile with none of the regions fully occupied by Russian forces. In his nightly address, the Ukrainian president said fierce fighting continues in many areas of the front, but said an increasing number of occupying forces were trying to escape and more losses are being inflicted on the enemy army. Zelensky said Russian men who had been mobilized to fight in Ukraine just a few weeks ago were already dying in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the U.S. committed even more firepower to Ukraine's fight, as the Biden administration announced another $625 million in military aid to Kyiv. In a call with Zelensky, President Joe Biden said the U.S. would never recognize the illegal annexation attempts.
Одну міну, вогонь! Міна!
Back blast area clear! It's on ukriane! Міна! One, two.